Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much, Ambassador. I would like to start by thanking IDSA for the good job they do. Ambassador Prasad, Dr. Mino, and the team. Really, it's a pleasure to be in India in this very interesting and honorifical gathering, and I really enjoy it. And it's also double pleasure to be in a panel chaired by Ambassador Singh, a good friend, old friend, and he knows that I have an interest in starting with jokes and sense of humor. And one of the reasons is that the way that I was introduced, ambassador, a scholar. So I want here to, I don't have any hair, but I have two hats. One is a scholarly, the other one is diplomatic. I want to use my scholarly hat, though I don't want to use my diplomatic hat in the meantime. So what I say today is my own. It's not governmental, but I start by a joke about the difference between ambassador generals and the scholars. I think Ambassador Singh has not heard this one. He has heard some of the others. The one which is interesting is a general, and since we are in Defense Institute, of course it's a joke. Yeah, a general. It's a joke, I have to say in the beginning. Is paid to die for his country. An ambassador is paid to lie about his country, and a scholar is paid to explain why he is ready to die and why he is ready to lie. So I am in this mood. But since you like this, I would like to add another one, of course, to deduct it from my time. And this is the one I shared with Ambassador before. But it's interesting also still on the differences between these three categories of people. But with a different tone, and that is, do you know what's different between a camel, an ambassador, and a scholar? No, this time generals are out of the picture. And the answer is a camel can work and not drink for a month, and nothing will happen in the deserts. And sorry, ambassador is joke. An ambassador can drink for a month and not work, and nothing will happen. And scholars, think tankers can work, drink, go to conferences, teach, have papers, presentations, and nothing will happen. No worry. So, with this distancing from the officialdom, what I would like to do as a scholar is raise one question, conceptually most, and then answer it on the relationship between Iran and the region. And the question is very simple, but I think it's very important. Why and how Iran and its region can be analyzed, can be understood. So the question is on understanding the relationship between Iran and the region. And in that context, my answer is very simple, ABC. I would answer by A, B, C. A, assumptions needs to be revisited. There are several assumptions on Iran and the region, which we heard some in the previous presentations. One is that Iran is expansionist, and Iran is going to, dominate the region. Iran is the hegemon, and all these categories. Of course, in this cluster of assumptions, you will find a lot of sub-assumptions. The other one is Iran is for ideological domination. So the ideology is bringing to the picture. The other one is ideology, of course, some in the format of territorial, sometimes in non-territorial respects. Iran is for sectarian conflict. This is another assumption, that Iran is at the heart of this sectarian and so on and so forth. And finally, an alarmist Iran, that Iran is a danger for the region. Actually, it is the base of, it's not the assumption, it is the base of policies of United States and its allies. I think all these assumptions need to be revisited. Why? Because they are very simplistic, they are very reductionist, they reduce the totality and complexity of Iranian position and policies to one single notion, and they are very selective, and finally they are for production of fear and making more conflicts in the region. Nothing is seen in these assumptions on the weight and qualities of Iran on shaping a better region. So it starts from a type of creating fear, war, environment, and so on and so forth, and they are dangerous for regional peace and security. Of course, I can't go to details of each of them. Even people, think tanks, policy centers, as well as individual politicians who work on these notions. It is about securitization of Iran, making Iran as a security issue. The peak of this process, based on this assumption, was when the nuclear file of Iran was brought to the Security Council, and a lot of interactions that you know. These assumptions need to be revisited. So this was my A. My B, building blocks of Iranian regional positioning. Or in a better way, what are the components of Iranian regional posturing and outlook? What are the elements or building blocks of Iran with regard to the region? I think first of all is geography, geopolitics. Geopolitics is clearly there, and I think geopolitics means a permanent or continuous situation, if not permanent, more continuity. And it is the logic of geopolitics that sets Iranian relationship with this region. And the geopolitical events, let me a little bit be explaining on these issues. Iran is at the heart of at least 5 regions, and connecting these regions together without being a part of those sub-regions. Iran is neighboring the Arab world, but it's not Arab. Iran is neighboring Central Asia, but it's not a Central Asian nation. Iran is neighboring Caucasia, but it's not a Caucasian nation. Iran is neighboring Mediterranean, Eastern Mediterranean and Turkic world, but it's not a Mediterranean country. Iran is bordering subcontinent, and is not a subcontinent country. I think the logic of geography and geopolitics sets how Iran is in the region. Furthermore, there are few important strategic geopolitical shift which has brought Iran to this situation as it is in its, let's say, geographical position. The collapse of Soviet Union was the most significant geostrategic change in relationship between Iran and its surroundings. Why? Because before that there was asymmetrical relationship between Iran and its northern neighbor for more than 2 centuries. But it really shifted, and Iranian power position was changed. The collapse of Taliban was also a very important shift. More important is the collapse of Saddam Hussein, which initiated a war, and we can go to detail. So it's not overnight Iranian projection of going here and there. It is due to this strategic shifts which happened, and finally I think the anti-Iranian posturing and plans all failed. The war in Syria, of course, had and has a still humanitarian, human dimension, but strategically at least one aim was to kick Iran out of Levant, as they were saying. It failed. And also what they call pushback policy of Iran, pushing back Iran from the region, is doomed to failure, as Saddam Hussein's invasion of Iran failed. And on the contrary, it created a different setting. So the geopolitics and the evolution of this geopolitics is so significant in understanding Iran and its relationship with the region. But it is not all about geopolitics. I think it is also about the decisions and policy thinking. Iran takes its decisions by consensus, a lot of debate, and a lot of interaction, and I think we take mature decisions on all issues. It is not just go and take this. On all strategic issues, there is debate, and I think the decisions that Iran, be JCPOA, which is one of the most important diplomatic interaction, our neutrality in the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, and the list goes on and goes also to responses to provocating Iran to much more conflictual position which we evade meticulously. So I think this human dimension, this bureaucratic dimension, should also be taken into account, along with one more factor which I end my B and go quickly to C, and that is the qualitative achievements of Iran during the last 4 decades. The qualitative as well as quantitative achievements of Iran. Iran is the only country in that region which is providing its own security. We are not borrowing security. We are not relying on the others on security. Almost all of US allies are importers of security by United States. So if someone in White House coughs, I don't know what they do in some of the capitals, but Iran is relying on itself. And so it is software and hardware size. We are not a proxy of United States. We produce our security domestically. And it's not only domestic security, it is the regional security. ISIS. Who defeated ISIS? It was just aerial bombardment, or it was, or just suppose for a second, Damascus was on the verge of collapse a few years ago. And if Damascus was in the hand of ISIS and the other groups, which were supported by some of the proxies, so you could see what happened. And it's not just on the security achievements. Yes, we have challenges, economic challenges, we have a lot of other challenges, but what's interesting, the challenges are managed by Iranians. And these are the achievements. So it should be understood for Iranian and its Iranian, let's say, situation in the region. Finally, let's go to my C. Before C, may I conclude by my B that Iran is a genuine regional power. A genuine one. Before revolution, we were also a regional power, but dependent on the United States. Now it is